And we are live. Welcome everyone to the Empower and Grow Her broadcast. My name is Alisa J Green and I am your host today, and I'm super excited because it's Tuesday and I get a chance to reconnect, and connect again with all of you beautiful people out here in the world. We are about to really have a good conversation with my special guest here today. First of all, let me just say this. I had a hell of a month. My birthday just passed. I turned 50. Woo, woo! And I'm like super excited because I feel like I've been through so many things. I've overcome so many different challenges and had so many obstacles that I had to push through. Right now, I'm feeling super duper fantastic. So I'm always excited. I'm excited every day, but Tuesday is really, like I said, very special to me. And I have a very special guest here today, and her name is Kimberly Fairley. And she is an author and a public speaker. And I met Kimberly through a mutual friend of ours. Actually, my scribe coach, her name is Penda L. James, also known as the First Lady. And we had a conversation. I reached out to her. I think it's very important to, have these conversations. So I reached out to her and we talked for quite some time. But before I get started, I want you to share this video, spread the word. Okay, that we're live and we're here every Tuesday, or at least 3 Tuesdays out of the month. And again, like I said, I'm super excited. So for those of you who don't know, we always talk about self-care and empowerment. And we talk about standing in our courage. So all of these interviews are always, that is basically the the main topic, or we try to pull it all together. So without further ado, you know what? Let me read her bio first. Let me say this. First of all, this is a strictly organic show, non-scripted. And we just, like I said, have a conversation. So let me give you a brief bio on Kim before I start with the show. Okay, so Kimberly has been a youth leader for 9 years and currently leads one youth group at her church ranging from K-4 to 5th grade students. Over her 15 years of salvation, Kimberly has developed a passion for speaking about the dire importance of forgiveness, as well as the benefits of singleness and purity, to encourage the benefits of living an abundant life as desired by God. Kimberly has one desire in life, which is simply to aspire to inspire by sharing her life experiences with others, in hopes that the tests and obstacles that she's overcome will encourage others to gain knowledge of the power of God and how to apply it in their lives for the ability to stand strong in their walk and faith. In September of 2013, Kimberly was one of 11 women to assist in launching a new Christian television program on Cornerstone TV called Sister to Sister, that addressed the everyday issues women face from a Christian perspective. Kimberly was also a guest on Cornerstone's TV's Real Life and Sister to Sisters program in 2014 to share about her book, Perfectly Important. So without further ado, Kimberly Fairley, also known as Kim Possible. Welcome, Kim, and her son Elijah. He's also our special guest. And like I said, this show was strictly organic, so this is how it happens. Here we are. And so, Kimberly, let's talk about this. How are you, Kimberly?
Yeah. I'm wonderful.
Good. Hi, April. How are you, April?
Yeah.
Okay, so Kimberly, let's talk about it. So you are an author, right?
Yes.
What is the name of your book?
So the first book is titled Perfectly Imperfect, and the second book is An Encounter with Grice.
Okay. So let's talk about your book. What is Perfectly Imperfect about?
So Perfectly Imperfect is my story of my journey of forgiveness. Being a Christian over the years, I really thought that I embodied what forgiveness was. I thought I really understood what forgiveness was. And it wasn't until I had to go through a lot of things in my life and even come to the place of bitterness for God to break that off of my heart, for me to truly understand what it meant to walk in forgiveness. So that is just my process of learning how to forgive, and my desire to show other people what it means, because a lot of us are walking in the church and we're doing what I was doing for so many years. We're smiling in front of people, we're smiling in front of our leaders, we're talking about all these different scriptures, but we're not truly living according to the word, and we're not truly living out forgiveness. So that's just my story about learning how to forgive people.
Mm-hmm. So why is forgiveness so important to us? Because, you know, forgiveness is something that I think that a lot of us have, you know, somewhat of an issue with, and we don't always know how to start that process. What is the process like when, you know, it's time for us to forgive? What is that process like?
You know, to be quite honest, the process is never ending. I wrote that book and I did come to a very great understanding of what it was to forgive. But even recently, with the birth of my second son here, Elijah, I've learned how to forgive prior, but one thing that I don't think I had learned was how to forgive a person that I had to continue to interact with on a daily basis. So there were people that I could forgive and I could let things go and I could be okay with moving forward. But then the people such as his father, to be quite frank, that I had received this hurt from this person and I still had to interact with them on a daily basis. That's one of the things currently that God is truly, truly working through in my life, just learning how to, you know, as according to 1 Corinthians 13, when it says that love doesn't keep a record of wrongs and it's not resentful, it's not rude, it's not boastful. So forgiveness is very much a daily process that we have to endure and go through.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. Forgiveness is a daily process. So in your book, Perfectly Imperfect, what are some of the other topics that you touch on, you know, under the title forgiveness in your book? And we might get frozen a little bit, but that's okay. So did you hear what I said, Kimberly? Okay, so Kimberly, did you hear me? Kimberly, did you hear me? Okay, so it seems like we're having a little technical difficulties, but that's okay. So we're here with Kimberly D. Fairley, also known as Kim Possible. And when she gets unfrozen, I'm going to ask her about how did she get that name. Yeah, it did. It froze. It froze, Kimberly. Can you hear me now, Kimberly?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. So we're here live with, I love it too. Hi, Madeline. Hi, April. How's everyone doing? So we're here with Kimberly Fairley, author and speaker of Perfectly Imperfect. And her second book is Encounter with Grace. Kimberly, can you hear me now? Okay, let's just see if she can refresh so we can get back on the course here. Hi, Darnika. How are you? Hi, Madeline. Hi, April again. I hope all is well. We're waiting for Kim to return to us. Okay, so we're live here at the Empower and Grow Her broadcast. I'm super excited, like I said, and we're here with my special guest today, Kimberly Fairley. That's what. Okay, she should be back in a minute. Okay, she's back. She's back. Okay, so My question was, in your book, Perfectly Imperfect, what were some of the other topics that you spoke about as far as, being perfectly imperfect? What does that consist of? How did you come up with that title?
So the book it goes through some transitions in my life. It starts with the hurt that I received, that I believe that was the seed that was planted in my life at birth. Mm-hmm. My story when I was born was that me and my twin brother, our father came into the room, looked at us, walked away, and never came back. Wow. And so I ended up finding out later, and that I believe that it was planted into my life. From that point, I believe that it built on through different relationships, not having a father, just always wanting to be loved, not knowing what it was to express myself in that way, in a healthy way. Mm-hmm. Then I received different hurts in relationships, and then transitioned into the church hurt that I received. Just being in the church and just enduring some very hurtful things that I thought would never happen in the church, but if we're being honest, there are human beings in the church, so you're bound to be hurt regardless of what church you attend. Mm-hmm. And the fourth part of the book is just how God taught me, just the things He taught me, the lessons I learned. When I came up with that title, I was thinking about, because I had transitioned out of the old church and I was going to a new church. I had been in the old church for 8 years, and when I was transitioning into this new ministry, all I could think of is why these things happened to me. Just why? That was the biggest question: is God, why was this all for? What are you going to do in my life? I remember just thinking about all the things that I had endured, all the things that I went through, and just realizing that even though I'm imperfect as a person, and all of there's a lot of different things that I did wrong over the years, just realizing that I'm perfect in God's eyes, because God always looks at us and He always sees a person who has the potential to be so much greater than who we are in that moment. Sometimes all we can see is those mountains in front of us, and we don't see what's past that thing. But God can see the beauty past that mountain that we're facing. So just realizing in that moment of my life, that I was truly perfectly imperfect.
Wow. And so if you take that message, perfectly imperfect, all of the experience that you've gone through in your life, how can you help someone else realize or understand that they are perfectly imperfect when they're sitting in their stuff and where they feel like they're stuck and sitting in it, and they want to get past it?
The biggest thing that I would say to people is just to encourage them that this mountain, sometimes you have to make it move out of your way. There's a lot of wishing and a lot of hopefulness that we can have for our situations. We can want to do better and not know how to do that. And that's where a lot of friends and family come into play. I have a great support system around me and my church, people in my family, friends that have been very supportive over my process. And so having them give me that last 10%, being very honest with me about the things that I needed to change about myself, about the things that I needed to release, even just realizing that there were people around me that could see me in that realness of, I know that you don't like this person and you're being fake right now. Just having those people around me to love me enough to tell me that 100% truth. So the biggest thing that I would just tell people is make people around them that are going to be real with them, and to be patient in the process. Even if wanting to be in that place of being past that mountain, everything is a process. And if you skip those different parts of the process, then you're skipping the blessing that God has in those different phases of the process. So just having a support system around you, going through the process, and realizing that there is going to be something better on the other side of that mountain. There just is.
Wow. Okay, so that was a lot. All right, so basically just grow through the process. So
yes,
for those of you that are doing this, thank you, Darnika. Thank you, Madeline. Thank you, April. Liana, thank you. Liana says she needs the book. We're live here with Kimberly D. Fairley, known as Kim Possible. Kim, I wanted to ask you, because I don't know if I asked you, I probably did, but how did we get to Kim Possible? How did you get that?
The name?
Yeah, how did you get that name?
So it was actually at the former church that I used to go to. I was at that church, and even now, I'm a person that will do anything under the sun. I won't pay for things if I don't figure it out first. I'm a do-it-yourself type of person. So it was from that former church that, I mean, we would do different events, and you'd catch me up on the ladder, like whatever it took to get the job done, Kim was going to do it. So that's where Kim Possible came from, because if Kim could do it, it would be possible.
Right. You're absolutely right. So Madeline and Liana are asking about where they can get your book. So can you share your link? Just share the link, and I'll put it in the title here. Share the link. Tell me the link to the book so they can get your book.
They can visit my website at beautybeyondbrokenness.com.
What is it?
The website is beautybeyondbrokenness.com or Amazon.
Okay, so Beauty Beyond Broken. I'm just gonna add that in there. Is that right? Beauty Beyond Brokenness. I like that. How did you come up with that title? With that.
So I was working with someone last year to do some marketing, and a lot of the different things that I was talking to her about, she had just said that she believed that there was beyond brokenness. And over the years, when I've just looked at my life, I've looked at my situation, I've always considered the things that I've endured to be so nasty, to be so ugly, but realizing that even in the brokenness, there's beauty, and even beyond it, there's so much beauty from the situations that we endure. Yeah. So that's where I got the beauty beyond brokenness from.
Yes, I believe that too. I believe it. So I want to ask you this question because, I believe that every woman has a story, and I believe that it's not how we tell our story, it's how we live it and how we give it. Why do you write?
Right.
Why do you write, and how important is it for you to write? Why do you write?
So personally, I write because not to say that my side of the story and the things that I've endured or the lesson that I've learned or the example, but I believe that too often that we're afraid to share the things that we've gone through. We're afraid to share those messy details because we don't want judgment. I don't think that people will care about it or people will respect us the same way after we share those different details. And so I truly believe in sharing these details because there are 10 or 20, 30 other women out there, maybe women listening to this, that say, you know what, she's going through that and I've gone through something very similar. And if if God has taken her through this and she can still smile at the end of this, then I can too. So I enjoy writing because I want other women to be inspired. I want tons of other authors to come from this. For other women to be able to say, if God can bring her through this, he can do the same exact thing for me.
Yes, yes. And that's very important. And I think that, the more we write, the more we give other people permission to write their stories, to share their stories, the more we empower other women to really just say, you know what, that I can do it too. That happened to me. Just like you said, that happened to me. Girl, how did you get through it? I think that's so important. And I think that once we embrace that, once we embrace it, we just write even more. So that's very important for the listeners out there. If you haven't written, please write your book. It's so important. And your book is your legacy. Your book is leaving, is sharing your story with not just the world, but your family. And that's important because you want your people to know where you came from, what you've gone through, and that can be a blueprint or GPS for, you know, your loved ones to use to get them through some things in life. So I think that it's important to share our life experiences with others. So can you share one of your most biggest life experience and the lesson that you got from it with us?
Sure. I'd have to say one of the biggest successes right now is my first son. He is 10 years old. His name is Isaac. And over the past 10 years I've been parenting him, I've done a lot of it alone. And a lot of that being alone has been fault. There's been many different times I have blocked his dad from being able to be a part of the process. There were some things that his dad did do that were wrong and that warranted for him not to be a part of the process. But I can honestly say that I was one of those. It's not even about being Black. I was just one of those single moms that was hurt as a woman, that was hurt in the situation, and hadn't yet got past all of the hurt to be able to understand that it was about our son, and he was the most important factor in the situation. Yes. And so it wasn't until, and I had another child outside of marriage, that God has been really, really dealing with me. And even just to see how the hurt and the pain and everything that I have done, the choices that I've made, how it's all affected my 10-year-old. And even just in his behaviors and acting out in school and things like that, like it's been very, very detrimental to him for me to have made the decision to be so angry and to hold on to that hurt from his dad. So by the grace of God, I've been really growing recently, and God has really been allowing me to heal through the birth of this beautiful little boy. And as a result, just recently, it wasn't even 2 weeks ago, that I have opened up communication with my oldest son's dad so that we can try to start all over again and try to restart the process of parenting together. Because we both understand that we don't know what it looks like to parent. We didn't have healthy examples of a mother and a father together parenting when we were growing up. But I'm willing to do whatever it takes to learn so that my son can be benefited from the situation. So that's one of the biggest processes that I'm going through right now is just learning how to get along with another person that I have to get along with. Like, this is not an option myself, but then there's so many detrimental things that will happen to my oldest son if I don't choose to get over my side of the story and just deal with the consequences of the decision that I made, because it's not my son. He didn't ask to be here. I made the decision to have a child outside of marriage. And so it's up to me to kind of grow up, put on my big girl panties and choose to raise my son in a manner that's pleasing and honoring to God. So, yeah, that's one of the biggest things that's going on with me right now is just learning how to honor God in all relationships in my life.
Yes. I think, it's very important. I think that you spoke about, mending the relationship so we just lost Kimberly. And so I want to say hello to Madeline, Grice Be Still, Liana, Darnika, April, all the listeners out there. Thank you for joining us. And Kimberly is back. Okay, so what I was going to say, Kimberly, is I think it's so important that as women and as parents, if at all possible, especially for our children, sometimes it's difficult for us to reconnect with, the father of our children. But at the end of the day, like you said, his growth is more important than anything. So I think that it's very important that we move past certain things. But sometimes it's so hard for some of us to let go on both sides of whatever that thing was that caused the break. So my question to you, even though you got through it, how difficult was it for you to put your big girl panties on and just say, you know what, I have to do this for my son Isaac. I have to do this for him?
Coming to the realization, one of the things that was hardest for me was seeing that my youngest Elijah, his dad is going to be a part of the process. That's not even a question. Mm-hmm. We're not on the best terms right now, but he's still a part of the process. And I would let my oldest, and I would see how hurt that he was that Elijah had his dad, but he didn't have his dad.
Right.
And so it was the decision that, do I continue to look at my son and see how broken and hurt that he is and continue to just let it go? Or do I continue to ignore it? Do I continue to act like it doesn't matter? Or do I grow up and I make a decision to do everything in my power to make sure that my son is okay? And I had to do that. You know, we always say as parents that we want our children to have better lives than we did. And I can't be the mother and woman that I am, the woman of Christ that I am, and look at my son hurting and choose not to do anything. You know, it's absolutely important for me to make. It's important for me to make my son okay, and I want him to be a strong man whenever he's older. You know, I know that there are going to be schemes of the enemy in his life whenever he gets older, but I don't want them to be because of anything that I've done. So it just had to be the choice of getting over myself and choosing to move forward on his behalf.
Oh, wow. Okay. So, woo! Okay. This is good stuff. This is good stuff. I hope everyone has their paper and pens out and they're taking notes, because Kimberly is really like sharing her experiences and dropping nuggets. And, you know, people are asking where you can get the book. Okay. BeautyBeyondBeautiful.com is where you can get the book, or you can go on Amazon. And so Grice, be still, my love. She says, hey, Kimberly, thank you for your transparency. Madeline says, I've been through hell and back, and to know others have and concord, it's amazing. You go, girl. So right now, I want to ask right now while we have people here, because, you know, the internet is a little shaky and we're going in and out. If anyone has any questions, let's just go to the questions right now. Let me just put this in the questions. Does anyone have any questions? Let's see. Any questions? Does anyone have any questions out there? Just type your questions in the comments, because we can see your comments. Type your questions in the comments while we have Kimberly here. I'm sorry. Let's see, we're just waiting for questions. So while we're waiting for questions to pop up, again, I'm here, Empower and Grow Her TV, with Kimberly D. Fairley, also known as Kim Possible. And we're talking about the power of forgiveness, how important it is. We're talking about Perfectly Imperfect, her book, where to get it from. Share this video, share it with others, spread the word. So Kimberly, okay, through all of this, I'm gonna save the two questions that I have for last. But through all of this, how important was it? How important was it for you to care for yourself through this turbulence, through all of the obstacles and the lessons? How were you as far as your self-care was concerned?
So, to be honest, I really didn't start self-care until about, I want to say, between 8 and 9 months ago. Mm-hmm. Over the past 10 years, I have been a provider to my son, and I've worked really hard, 2 jobs at a time, you know, whatever it took to get the job done. And it wasn't until I was pregnant with my second son outside of marriage that I realized that something needed to be done. And just realizing that I had done self-care prior, that it's very possible that I wouldn't have another child. I got for both of my children, and I know that there is a purpose for both of their lives.
Yes.
But I believe that if there was self-care that was done prior, that if I had taken the time to care for myself and address the hurts that I had properly, that I'm not exactly sure who I would be today if it hadn't been for that. But I honestly didn't start acknowledging the fact that I needed to even do self-care until about 8 or 9 months ago when I was pregnant with my second son.
Wow. Wow. And so when you did start your self-care regimen, what was your self-care regimen like? Or how did it change you? What was it like and how did it change you?
So I am so happy to say that my self-care was going into counseling. I knew that there were some deep hurts that I had. There were some issues that I had, even with just communicating. I didn't know how to communicate with people after they hurt me. And I went into some counseling, and I am so thankful that I did. It has saved me as an individual, as a woman, as a parent. I mean, I'm kind of mad at myself that I didn't do it prior. And it's funny because, especially as a young Black mom, I just thought, oh, ain't nobody gonna tell me what I need to do. Can't nobody help me. Going to counseling is crazy. I'm not gonna let nobody in my business. But I cannot tell anyone how freeing it was that first session when that guy read me like a book. He knew me like a book in my first session and was just able to see past all of the hurt. He was able to see past all the walls and really, really helped me to open up and to really just release all of the mess that I thought that I had released prior. Yeah. So if it had not been for counseling, I would not be who I am today. I just wouldn't.
Yeah. I think that a lot of people, especially in our community, people of color, I think that we dismiss therapy. We don't think that it's something that's needed, in which I strongly disagree with that. You don't have to label the word therapy. It doesn't equate to crazy. It doesn't equate to anything, right. But what it equates to is self-care. What it equates to is healing. What it equates to is a number of things to help us get through something. It's just another ear. Right. It's just someone who's not partial to you and to your whatever your issues are. And I'll tell you, for a lot of us, therapy takes years because there's so many different issues that I think that as women we don't deal with. Yep. We're always the ones that are nurturing and we're giving and we just give to everyone else, and then we make ourselves the last one on the list. And that's how come I love talking about self-care. Self-care consists of cutting the cord from people, dissolving relationships and things like that. Because if you don't care for yourself, how can you care and love for anyone else? That is so important. And that's one thing that I really, really, really push. For my birthday, a lot of people were asking me, oh, well, are you going to have a 50th birthday? I party all my life. No, I'm not having a 50th birthday party. What I did for my birthday was I went and I checked into a hotel with my books and my laptop and some wine. And I had time to myself because that's what I needed. I told my kids, do not call me unless your grandparents call you and tell you that they need me. Other than that, lose my number. That is self-care. And it's not being nasty. It's just it's something that it's reality. It's something that I think that we take away from ourselves when we don't allow ourselves to have just some time to yourself. It's so, so, so important. And I'm so glad that you shared that, because you can't save anybody until you help yourself. You can't help anyone until you help yourself. So that's my rant for self-care. And I'm so happy that I asked you that question. So again, with all the experiences that you've been through, all of the different lessons and things that you learned, and I know God played a big part in it all. So how do you see God in all that you endured? How do you see God in all when we're going through things, our experiences, sometimes we don't see God. Sometimes, we're not listening. And I believe that God has a funny way of sitting us down and making us, pay attention by way of accidents, by way of hurts, by way of a lot of different things. So how do you see God in all you've endured?
Especially as a result of this second book that I wrote, An Encounter with, prior, I used to really judge people about having sex outside of marriage, and I was really, really harsh about it. So the book started as a really, really harsh way for me to address people about having sex outside of marriage. Because at that point, when I had finished the book the first time, I had been 10 years celibate, and I thought that I knew what I was talking about. I thought I knew what I was doing. And then I had the encounter with Grice, with becoming pregnant again outside of marriage, and realizing that I didn't truly know what Grice was, and I didn't really know how to extend it to people because I was so judgmental, I was so harsh. And when I look at my life now, and I look at all the things that I've endured, I really see God, because even some of the situations haven't necessarily changed. Some of the situations are still very hard for me to go through and for me to endure, but it changed me, and it changed who I am as an individual. I can sit now in front of a single mother or a married mother, a divorced mother, who's having difficulties in her relationship. And I can honestly tell her that it's okay to get past the hurt in order to make sure that your children are okay and that they can grow up in a healthy way and in a way that's pleasing to God. I can look at people that have been hurt in relationships, and I can say that it's okay to forgive that person and move forward. It's okay to allow yourself to endure that different hurt so that you can be changed. The person may not change, the situation may not change, but it changes who you are, and it allows you to be closer to Christ and less of yourself. So I see God in the sense God has allowed me to grow and mature in a way that I just don't think without these situations, I would have never come to who I am today. And they weren't comfortable. They didn't feel good. But I thank God, because I wouldn't want to be any other person. I wish there was a lot of things that were different. I wish I was married. I wish that I had my kids in marriage. There was a lot of things I wish. I wish I had my master's degree. I wish all these different things. But I thank God, because I believe there's something about being broken that allows you to be so much closer to another person that's broken than a person who's never, ever experienced being broken and hurt in their lives. And not to say that anyone else's hurt is less than another person's, but I just know that because of all the hurt that I've endured, I can truly speak to the hurts in another person's life. And I believe that that's what God wants for us. He uses that brokenness so that we can speak to the brokenness of others.
Okay. Okay, great. So you're onto something, because I believe that in every relationship, there's a give and take. So, which is kind of the same thing. So I believe that when we encounter other people, when we have relationships with other people, when we're in, relationships or whatever, or friendships or whatever, like, it's something in us that we need from each other. It's a give and take. So I agree with you on that. But sometimes when we have these different energies, we attract a certain type of people. So basically, you're saying broken attracts broken?
Yes, I do believe that it can.
Okay. Yeah, I agree with you on that too. Broken attracts broken.
Because if you're not broken, you can't understand my brokenness. I truly believe that even, for mothers, a married woman wouldn't be able to speak to the difficulties that I face as a single mother. She can speak to some issues, but having to get along with the other partner that is treating me like trash and treating me terrible, she can't necessarily speak to those different things. So I do believe that even just having, difficulties with my mom, a young woman that has a really good relationship with her mother may not ever be able to speak to the fact that I have issues with my mom and I can't stand her sometimes, and sometimes I don't want to talk to her. You know, she may not be able to speak to those things. So I truly believe that our brokenness can attract other people that are broken. In the sense, I mean, not everyone necessarily wants to heal and move forward. We have potential to be into that growth. We have brokenness that bringing healing and growth.
Woo! Okay. So, all right. That's okay. All right. This is a whole nother topic right here. So I'm not even going to listen. This is good stuff. I hope everyone out there that's listening, I hope you are paying attention to what Kimberly is saying. This is good. Let me see what time it is. It's 7:40. So we're live here with Kimberly D. Fairley, the author of Perfectly Imperfect and Encounter with Grace. And OMG, I'm just like floored right now. So for those of you that are here, be sure to share this video, spread the word. We're talking about forgiveness. We're talking about self-care. And now I want to talk about courage. So with all that you've gone through, how did you muster up the courage to move through your obstacles the way that you did outside? Well, I'm not going to say outside of God, but how did you muster up the courage? How did you just take that deep breath and say, you know what? God, have your will. How did you do it?
Because I truly believe that God has a purpose for my life, that I don't know if I can necessarily say that I know a life outside of God, because I've been saved since I was 13 years old. And before that, I wasn't really cutting up. So I don't know necessarily another side outside of God, but he's just about all I know. And because of that, I truly believe that God wants to use the things that I've encountered, the things that I've endured. And I just refuse to stop. I refuse to give up. I refuse to believe that I've lived the best life that he has for me so far. Like, I just refuse to live anything short of an abundant life that he would have for me. And so I choose to move forward because I choose to believe every single day that I'm going to eventually hear, well done, my good and faithful servant. And I don't want to fall short of that. I don't want to say, oh, well, I'm going to give up now. You know, what if tomorrow was my last day and I didn't give everything in my power to continue to move forward because of the different things that were happening? Like, I don't ever want to take for granted any day that God has given me, any opportunity that he's given me. So I want to ensure that with everything that I endure, that I go through, that I refocus myself and I keep on moving forward. Because, you know, if anything else, I have two children, one who can see everything and one who's eventually going to see these things. Oh, wow. I have two kids that are going to look up to me. And, you know, right now I'm in the process of finishing my bachelor's degree. Nice. And I want my oldest to look at me one day and say, I saw my mom going through part of this process and she never quit. She never gave up. I stopped a couple times, but at the end of it, I chose to power through it. So I know that there's people around me that are watching, and I don't want to be any form of entertainment. I just want to simply be an example of God's grace. I want to be an example of what it is to continue to live for God, because that's all I want to live for in this life is for God.
Wow. Kimberly, you just took my breath away. You just took my breath away. As always, I'm speechless. Like, every time I get a chance to encounter and interview all the different women that I've been interviewed, it might sound redundant, but I swear I always get, my breath gets taken away. I have a loss for words, because it's just so much. It's so powerful, the messages that you're sharing, or that the women that I interview are sharing. It's just so powerful. I'm just so appreciative of you being open enough and transparent enough to share your message and your story. So I want to thank you again. And for those of you that are out there, if you have any questions, please put your questions in the comments. We can see your comments. We're talking about forgiveness. We're talking about empowerment. We're talking about self-care. We're talking about not being judgmental. We're talking about going through our stuff and what we need to do, while we're going through it or while we're growing through it. So, Kim, while you're still here, we have just a few more minutes. I want to ask you the benefits of living an abundant life. What do we get? What are the benefits of living an abundant life? What is living an abundant life?
I think living an abundant life is just choosing to see God in every situation and every day that we are given. Not everything that I've endured has felt good. It hasn't looked good. It hasn't been good. But just knowing that God truly, truly allows me to be less of myself and more like Him at the end of all of it. And because of that, I can speak to other people in their situations. I can relate to darkness in other people's situations. And at the end of it, I can just glorify God. So that's what I believe is living in abundant life. Everybody goes through hard times. There's not a Christian or non-Christian that doesn't have a hard time in life. But I believe that the gift that we have as Christians is that we know at the end of it that there's hope. There's no doubt about it. There's so much hope and there's so much beauty at the end of everything that we can endure. And so no matter how long that storm, that season is, there's going to be something great that comes on the other side of it. So that's the abundant life for me, just knowing that there's just always something greater than that little bit of X. There's always more beauty to be held in this life than blurps of storms that we go through.
Yes. Thank you for sharing that. So I want to ask you two more questions and then we're going to close out. So in your bio, you mentioned that you are a youth leader and you've been a youth leader for 9 years. How is it working with the children first? And how did you get there? Like why, how did you get to be a youth leader and working with the children?
I've always loved kids. Even from being in my family, I have a relatively big family. And so I adore working with kids because they're so teachable. They're so easy to be molded whenever they're young, and they're so thirsty, and they're so ready to learn, and they're so willing to learn. So I've always enjoyed that. And they're not judgmental. I just love kids so much, how you can mess up, you could not sing in the right tone or the right key, and they will still love and adore you just as much as they ever would. So I just kind of jumped into it, and I just loved it ever since. I adore kids. I do.
Yeah, that's awesome. I do too. I love working with kids. So, all right. So, here's my. Okay, but again, let me ask if anyone has any questions. Put your questions in here while we have Kimberly D. Fairley here. We have Kimberly D. Fairley, author and public speaker of Perfectly Imperfect and Encounter with Grace. And if you want to purchase her books, you can go purchase them at Beauty Beyond Brokenness. That's Beauty Beyond Brokenness. Let's see if I can put it up there. There it is, Beauty Beyond Brokenness. And I'm really, really enjoying myself. And Elijah is just sitting there and he is just having an awesome time. And so here's my question before we close out. One message that you would have to, okay, no, let me just strike that. I'm sorry. Okay, so if this were your last day on earth, what would be the one message that you would share with the entire world in order to just save the world?
I wanted to just save the world.
Yeah, one message.
I guess my one message would be that God is real. God.
Okay, we're frozen again. So again, we're
all the nastiness in the world. God is very real, and he wants to be near to us so that he can counteract all of the negativity that the enemy brings on a very daily basis. I would just, if anything, I just want people to know that God is real. Like he's just real. That's all. Like his love is amazing. It has such a filling ability. It fills those voids that we have and we try to fill with any other thing. And if we trust him, that we would truly be just engulfed in his love. Like God's real.
Okay, so where can everyone find you, Kimberly? Let us know where we can find you so we can connect with you on your social media sites. So you're on Facebook. What's your handle on Facebook?
The handle on Facebook is Broken Beauty 116.
Okay. And where can they find you on Instagram?
Instagram is beauty, God bless you, _beyond_brokenness. So it's beauty beyond brokenness, and there's underscores in between the words.
Oh, beauty _beyond_brokenness. Underscore after brokenness?
No, not after, just before.
Before. Okay.
Yeah, baby.
Yes, so this is where we can find. So, okay, repeat that. Run that back one more time just so that everyone can hear it.
So Facebook is okay. Facebook is Broken Beauty 116, and Instagram is Beauty Beyond Brokenness, underscores in between Beauty _Beyond Brokenness. Yep, just like you have it.
Yeah, but I said on Twitter. So okay, but that's on Instagram, not Twitter.
That's on Instagram. Twitter. What is my Twitter? I don't use Twitter very often.
No, I put
Twitter is beauty. Go ahead.
Go ahead. Twitter is what?
Twitter is just Broken Beauty 116.
Okay. Broken Beauty.
So Twitter and Facebook same, Broken Beauty 116.
Okay. All right. All right. So, wow, I have really enjoyed myself, and I hope all of our guests have as well. Darnika, thank you. Grice Be Still T, thank you. Madeline, thank you. Liana, thank you. April, Roga, my friend, my net friending friend, and Be Live friend, thank you so much for joining us. And everyone on the replay, thank you for joining us. And you can find Kimberly at Broken Beauty 16 on Facebook, Broken Beauty 116, I'm sorry, on Instagram. And please go and get her book, How to Think Perfectly Imperfect, as she shares her stories and her experiences and her walk with God, you know, through her obstacles, her tests and her obstacles. Kimberly, I want to thank you so much for you showing up and sharing your story with the baby. Yeah. Like I said, this is a organic online TV broadcast, and I'm so proud to be here to help empower and grow women all over the world. And my mission is to reach 1 million women, and I can't do that without my guests. And that's why I keep saying, share the video, share the video, share the video. Just continue to share, continue to Stand in your truth. Continue to stand in your power. And I love you. We're closing out for tonight. Again, thank you so much. And I will chat with you all next week. Next week, I have a guest, Dr. Lucretia Dangerfield. I cannot wait. I can't wait for you guys to meet her next week. So until then, be strong, be safe, be loved, and just be you. Okay? Have a good night. Thanks again, Kimberly.
Thank you.
Good night.
Night.